Assalamualaikum everyone. Hope you're all fine. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be doing the Computer Science Paper 4 9618 and the variant is 42 October number 2024. In this paper I'll be doing the question number 3, question number 2, a question that is related to the queue, and this question is little different from the routine one, because in this question there are certain things and certain aspects that you really need to understand, like the use of the records to define a queue, and then there are various other things that I will explain in detail while attempting this question. So let's begin. You can see in this question, uh, the linear queue data structure is designed using a record structure. All right. First of all, the main point here is the record structure. The record structure queue has the following field: the queue array, 1D array of uh, up to 1,100 elements, head pointer, a variable that stores the index of the first data item in the queue array, tail pointer, a variable that stores the index of the next field location in the queue array. So for the question 2, the part A says write program code to declare the record structure queue and its fields. The language that I'll be following is the Python, and I'm using the PyCharm, the ID PyCharm, in which I'll write these codes. So let's do the first part. We have to create a class, and the name is queue. And in this class, we have to first declare an array. So definitely the data of the class is defined in the constructor def init. In this constructor, we will define the self dot queue array. This is the array, and then we also initially we need to, this array is an empty array, and we can have different methods to fill it, but the easiest one is that if we mention it is 0 means it is an integer, and this means that this array is going to have 100 elements in it. All right, we also can use the append method, but this is going to be more straight and more easier. So the head pointer, now I'm just following the requirement of the question 2's part A. Head pointer, which is initialized to 0, and the tail pointer, which is also initialized to 0. All right. So this is the need, and 0 means that it is something that you have to do in the Python, because in Python we never declare any data type. So we fulfill this requirement of declaration by just writing the comments in front of the variables that we are using. So this is, we are done with the part A. Now moving to the part 2, means the 3 marks is done by declaring this constructor. Now the B part, the main program creates a new queue record with the identifier. Now I've already written def main, and with the def main we also need to write this line on line number 16, that is if underscore name is underscore equal to main, that the name is main. Basically this help us to define the role of main, which is created here as uh, a subroutine. So this main, when by using this if, will actually define this main as the main function that actually requests the operating system to shift the control to the program which is written inside it. All right, so this is the main. So it is usually referred in your paper 4 question by this word, that the main program. So you need to, whenever it says the main program, it is better that you write this def main and do everything which is written in afterwards inside it. So the main program creates a new queue record with the identifier the queue. The identifier is the queue. So we write the queue, and it is created from the class queue. All right. Now this is how an identifier is created from the class queue. Okay. Now the head pointer. Now we again have to go to the head pointer, and we have to set certain things, like the head pointer is initialized to -1, the tail pointer is initialized to 0, every element in the array is initialized to -1. Now we again come back to the class, and we'll do some changes like head pointer. So self, this is the self, actually use this constructor for every object or every instance that is being created with it. So we use self.queryArray, which was already written, self.headPointer and self.tailPointer. Okay, so now they are saying that we need to initialize it. And how we initialization is that the head pointer is set to -1 and the tail pointer is initialized to 0, which is already done here. And then the queue elements, they all need to, all elements, each element in the array is initialized with -1. So we can write here -1 here. This is how we added every element in the array of this queue and we set it to -1. All right. So we are done with this part as well. Part B is done as well. Okay. Now we move to the part C. In the part C, the pseudocode function enqueue insert an integer value into the queue. Enqueue, you know, is the addition of the data item into the queue, adding an item into the queue. So let's do this. And in this question, this part, we just need to convert this all pseudocode into the program statement, and also we need to fill in the empty area like the dotted, which is shown by the dotted line. So let's do this. The class is now def enqueue, and the queue is aq. aq is of type. aq is basically the queue which will be passed to it as of type queue. Okay, so in the Python we are not mentioning any, we are not writing any parameter type inside the function header. So aq, and then the second one is the data. So these two parameter values, they are passed to this function. So this is something that we do in the Python. Now if aq dot head pointer is equal to -1, right? Then what will be done? aq dot q array, and inside the array is aq tail pointer is now which value we'll put over here is definitely, this is where we are putting the data, the data. So this is the first filling that we do over here. This is actually the data we put over here. All right. Now the next is aq dot head pointer is aq dot head pointer is equal to 0, and then aq dot tail pointer is plus equal to 1. So this is incrementing, and the other is we are returning. And you know that in the Python, how we handle the by reference, by returning the variable that we receive as by reference, as aq is mentioned here as a, you can see that aq is used here as by reference. So for doing that, we just write here aq, and then we also return -1. So this is what is written here. This is the first one is the 1. This is not -1. So this is 1 we return here. And else part now, elif aq dot tail pointer is greater than, what is the highest value? If it is greater than 99, then return again aq dot n comma -1. So this is how we fulfilled. So whenever we are returning, we are also returning aq with it, because by returning this, we mean that the aq is the the parameter that is passed and received as by reference. By reference, you know, the by reference means the storage which is referred in the program as a parameter. It refers to the original location, means whenever a change happens to that original location, even the copy, the value which is passed, the original will also change. So to fulfill that, I'm returning it with the value that we need to return. So now the last else and aq dot q array. This is the data of that record, and then aq dot tail pointer. So we are referring to the pointer is the data, and aq dot tail pointer and plus equal to aq dot tail pointer is plus equal to 1. So this is how we increment the data, increment the pointer. All right. And then we need to just mention that return again here, return AQ and 1. So this is done. So we are done with this C part. All right. So we did the filling and we converted the text, the pseudocode into the program code, and we also returned the AQ to the calling main program or the calling function. Alrighty, so now moving to the D part, and that is return function, return all data. Now again, we need to define another function. And what is that? The def return all data. This is another function. Return all data, what we have to do in it? Accesses the queue. It's going to access the queue. The queue is actually the parameter that is passed. We'll do that in the main part, but just right here we are just following what the program is saying. It concatenate all the integers value that have been inserted into the queue array, starting from the value stored in the head pointer, with a space between each integer value and the string of the concatenated value is returned. So all this is needed to be done inside this return all data. All right. How we'll do that? We need an out string, and that we initialize to empty. And then in this out string, we just need a loop for I in range, and then inside the range, as it says, into the starting from the value stored in the head pointer. So now the queue dot head pointer to the queue dot tail pointer. So it starts from the head pointer till the tail pointer. All right. So this is how we referred its starting and ending point. And then inside this, we are just going to concatenate out string plus and equal to now the queue, then the array part. Okay, array is the queue array, and then we use I inside it, and then plus and space. There is a space. And the data of the queue, is the integer we need to convert because we are concatenating. So you need to convert it into a string. Okay. Now in the end, once it is all concatenated, then outside the loop, you need to return out string. So after the loop is done, means all the values they are concatenated into the out string, then that out string must be returned. All right. So we are done with the D part as well. Now the main program asks the user to enter 10 integer with the values of 0 or greater. Now we need to come into the main program. As I said in the paper, they keep referring you to the main program, so it is better that you mention that the point of the main here. This def main is the area where we'll be doing this. The main program asks the user to enter the 10 values. All right, so let's do that. 10 values. We need a loop for I in range and 0 to 10, and inside that, okay, now another thing, it reads each input repeatedly until a valid number is entered. So now we need to use the repeat until, and as you know that in the Python there is no repeat until. We have to use a while loop for that. So we have to devise an approach by using a Boolean variable inside it. So that can be, we'll use continue and we make it true, and then while continue is equal to true. So what we will do, we will write, we take the value, we take the data from the user, what it says, input value. So that is we can use data value. All right, data value is a variable that will take the variable and then input, enter a number, must be greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. All right, So this we will take from the user, and then we are going to assign it. And you know, technically the data entered is what we are going to do. It reads each input until a valid number is entered. The number is technically an string, so we need to convert it into integer so that an integer number is entered. Otherwise, it will take it string value में चला जाता है, ठीक है? So we do this. That number is taken into the data val. Take that value and then we move next data val, and then it says if the data val is greater than equal to greater than -1 or greater than or equal to 0, so this is the condition that we make, that continue is going to be false. All right, so this will actually stop the loop. This will stop the loop. We can make it short, simple. It can be written like this. All right, when we write while continue, it means while continue is true. So after doing this, what we will do, we are going to return the 10 values. All 10 values are added to the queue using enqueue. So we need to put this value into the queue, enqueue, and then enqueue is using, you remember the enqueue we declared here, it use an array, the object, and then the data. So there are two parameters that are to be passed. So enqueue may what is the queue, and the data val we passed to it. All right, and we can, because it is a function, data val is highlighted here. So what we can do with the data val is that we can initialize it. Data val 0, so it will be fine. Okay, and we have to, when it will be called, you remember the enqueue is returning two parameter. One is the aq and the other is an integer. So we need to have an equivalent variables here. इसके लिए हमें एक variable देने पड़ेंगे. So the q, basically, why the q is the variable that is by reference, and then we need another variable, return value. Okay. So now the q will be received by this the q. This means it is by val, by reference, and actually the return value, this value will be returned by this return value. So the two variables for these two parameters, we are using two variables here on the other side of this equal to sign. All right. Now, if the value returned from enqueue is -1, if the value returned from enqueue is -1, so now let's do this. We are doing this inside the loop. If now the return value is equal to -1, so what will happen? Then it says output, the queue is full. Print queue is full. All right. And otherwise, else print queue. What is the other? Otherwise, message to output to state that the item has been added. So the item has been added. Item is added. All right. So this is what we write, and result response of this. So this is the completion of this code, and then the last, the function return data is called once all 10 integers have been entered, and the return value for the function call is output. Now we need to call the outside the loop once it is done. Inside the main, but outside the loop, we just need to call what? And then we not only need to call it, but we also need to print it. And the function call is output. So what we'll do, we write it inside the print command, and then what was the name? The name was return all data. Return all data, and then the queue parameter is the queue. So this is, we completed the E part, E and one part. Now we need to run it. Our code is actually completed here till the E part, E in first part, and the second part is to test your program using this. Now I'll just run it. Okay, that's great. We're asking for the number to be entered. So now we'll test this program with this data. All right, this is 10. So what will enter 10. Item is added. Then it says the 9 item is added. Then -1, enter a number greater than or now this is the validation. This means it is not accepted. Now we put 8, item is when the value is when the number is validated and it is correct, then it says item is added. And if the number like -1 I entered, it was not correct, so it again asks to enter that number. All right, so this is how the validation is also checked. Now 7, now we keep moving down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you see item is added and all the numbers are now shown over here. That is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this means that it says take the screenshot of the output, and you know there is an evidence file, and you just need to copy all this in the evidence file. I have not used that evidence in this video. In the next videos I will be using the evidence file as well. I was just doing the question. So once you will be asked to do this, then what you will do, you're just going to copy paste the this output in that. All right, now coming to the next question, next part of this question. So all of our code is done. Now we move to the F part. The function dequeue accesses the queue. The function returns -1 if the queue is empty, and if the queue is not empty, the function returns the next item in the queue and update the relevant pointers. Let's do this. We will be moving to the next part, and the function here is now the function dequeue. All right, enqueue is done. Now def dequeue accesses the queue, and we sometimes we are writing the queue and we sometimes we are writing a queue. It's fine, they both are valid, right? Because the sender parameter and the receiving parameter, they must be similar in terms of their data type, but this is not required that they must have the same name. All right, so we call it, and then it says the function returns -1 if the queue is empty. All right, or if the queue is empty, if the queue is not empty, the function returns the next item in the queue and updates the relevant pointer. The data is not replaced or deleted from the queue. So inside this, we just need to write a condition that if the aq dot head pointer is equal to -1, it means it is empty, or aq dot head pointer is equal to aq dot tail pointer, then return aq and -1, else, so that means it is empty. These conditions are telling that the queue is empty, and if it is not the case, then we have to return the out string, or we can also use a temp is aq dot q array, and then aq dot head point. So then function return the next item in the queue and update the relevant pointer. aq dot head pointer is plus equal to 1, and then return what we will be returning, aq and 1, and sorry, so this is basically the value that need to be returned. All right, so this dequeue is also done. The main program calls dequeue twice. It says it calls dequeue twice. Again, we need to go into the main program. This is the main program. Inside the main program, what we'll be doing. So in the main program, and each item, it either output queue empty. If there is no data in the queue, or output the return value. The main program calls the return all data. So now we need to call the queue is dequeue and dq, we have to pass the q to it, and then the dq with it we also need to tell that the name dq. All right, so the dq is called and it returns the value, and if return value is equal to, as it says, it is -1, then print what? Q is empty, else print. We also need to output the return value, so that is return value is returned. All right, so the value is returned. We write like this: return. All right, so this is done. Value is returned, and as it says, do this twice, so we need to just copy it and then paste it. We paste it and did this twice. All right. Now this G1 part is done, and now we need to run this and see the data that is for the test. So again, I run it. Now this time we'll be entering this data: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, G. So this is, you can see that 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the data. First it was entered, then 10 is returned. For the when the DQ was called once, it returned 10, and again when it is called, it returned 9. This is how this question is solved. So this is the output of the G2. All right, that's all for today. This is the question. This is, I hope you understood how we did this question and each and every part of this question. You can see that we declared the class with data, then we did the NQ part, then we did the DQ part, then we did the return all value, and then this was the main program that worked on the base of these functions.